Hello, how are you? Many people live with diabetes without knowing it. Diabetes can be a silent disease, and it's very important for us to notice the signs our body gives us that something isn't working right. After all, our blood sugar can be high without us even knowing it. Many people don't know they have diabetes, they don't have a device at home, and their blood sugar has been high for a very long time. And in the long run, this can cause problems and complications for our health. I'm going to tell you what the 10 main and early signs of diabetes are, so you can pay attention. Then, if that's the case, go to the doctor to investigate it. Stay until the end, you won't want to miss this. Before we start, I want to ask you, do you live with diabetes? Have you ever been told you have pre-diabetes? Do you live with type 1 or type 2 diabetes? And if you have type 2 diabetes, do you monitor your blood sugar daily? I'm asking because people with type 1 diabetes usually do, right? Of course, they have to keep a closer watch because of the insulin they need to take. But many people living with type 2 diabetes don't usually keep track of how their diabetes is going. Sometimes blood sugar is really high and these people have no idea. And many people sometimes have high blood sugar and haven't even been diagnosed yet, but they're experiencing the symptoms I'm about to tell you about. So it's very important for us to notice when blood sugar is elevated, whether we've been diagnosed or not. So this video here is going to help you a lot. Write in the comments and tell me how you notice that something is different with you. I'd love to see your comment. If you can, take a moment now and like the video. That really helps me out here on YouTube. It shows YouTube that you support the channel, that you trust my content. That's really important to me. The first big sign that your blood sugar is higher than it should be is that fatigue, that unexplained tiredness. Even if you've slept 7 or 8 hours a night, you still always feel tired. This happens because the sugar is high in your blood, but it's not high in your cells. The cells can't receive the sugar that's there high in your bloodstream because insulin isn't working the way it should. This ends up being a paradox, and many people can't understand it. And in fact, when you check with the little device on your fingertip, it shows that your glucose is at 200. But if I have so much glucose, why doesn't it give me energy? Because that glucose isn't getting into the cell. That's what causes tiredness, weakness, and an unexplained fatigue. It really is related to your blood sugar increase. Which brings us to the second sign you need to pay attention to. Have you been feeling hungry all the time? And once again, if your glucose is high, there in the plasma, in your blood, but your cell is starving, it can't receive that glucose. It's food, it's energy. So, it's always sending a signal to the brain. Give me food, I'm deprived. It's not that your body doesn't have energy, it's just that this energy can't get into the cell where it should be. So yes, a person living with uncontrolled diabetes, with high blood sugar, will feel hungry, yes. They might feel their stomach growling sometimes because the cell sends a signal to the brain, which then sends a hunger signal to your body as if you were actually malnourished, like, oh, I'm so hungry, because the cell can't receive that glucose. The third sign, also a very classic one, is that excessive thirst because your body is trying to get rid of that excess sugar. So what does it do? It stimulates urination, making you need to pee all the time, which is the fourth sign. These signs, the third and the fourth, always go together, right? Peeing all the time and being very thirsty because your body wants you to urinate so that through your kidneys, you can eliminate some of that glucose as a compensatory mechanism. It's not ideal, but it's a maneuver the body uses to try to get rid of the excess glucose. You pee more, get dehydrated, and then what does your brain tell you to do? Drink water. So all the time you feel thirsty and need to pee. So these two signs go hand in hand, numbers 3 and 4, which are constant thirst and the constant urge to urinate, even during the night. Number 5 is blurred vision. Many people, even in the early signs of increased glucose, experience difficulty seeing, as if there were a fog over their vision. This can be related to the high amount of glucose in the plasma, and it can make it harder for you to see clearly. This can improve when glucose levels return to normal. In more chronic and severe cases, it may be related to eye problems associated with more uncontrolled diabetes. But even in the early signs, this increase in plasma glucose can already cause blurred vision. And if it's something recent and you address it quickly, it usually doesn't cause any kind of long-term complications for your vision. So anything related to your vision, you should see a doctor to check what it is. But yes, it's another sign that your glucose levels might be elevated. The sixth sign is those dark spots in the armpits, on the neck, in the groin, and in the folds of the body. This is called acanthosis nigricans, and it is closely related to insulin resistance. You've probably seen often someone who is overweight or has insulin resistance, who has these brownish or purplish spots, a shade darker than their skin, in those areas I mentioned. And for people with darker skin, because of the melanin, it becomes more noticeable. So usually when these people reduce their insulin resistance, these spots also disappear. The seventh sign is recurrent infections, which can be gum infections, mouth infections, skin infections, or repeated urinary tract infections. This shows that glucose levels are very high and are impacting our immune system. That's also because excess glucose can increase the number of bacteria living there since they feed on that glucose. So there's that aspect as well. So it's extremely important to control your glucose if you've been having recurrent infections. And also, on the other hand, if you've been having recurrent infections, you should start checking your glucose levels. How are my glucose levels doing, right? Which comes first? The eighth sign can be very dangerous and can even be fatal for some people, which is slow wound healing. When glucose is very high, there is poor circulation and blood flow becomes deficient. Many people who have very, very high glucose levels may have a lot of difficulty healing, and in more severe cases, it can lead to the amputation of some limbs or to such serious problems with wound healing and, in short, injured tissues that the person can develop secondary infections, pus, and even ultimately lose their life if it becomes a generalized infection that enters the bloodstream. So, this is no joke for those living with diabetes who are decompensated, or for those whose blood sugar is very high, and some people don't even know they have diabetes because this infection, as I mentioned, can enter the bloodstream and can be dangerous for you. That's why people living with diabetes need to be extra careful when undergoing surgeries or dental treatments. Their blood sugar needs to be well controlled because these procedures can always be an entry point for bacteria that can thrive with so much glucose available, and this can be dangerous for your health. The ninth sign can be itching of the skin. There's also an attempt by the body to eliminate excess glucose, even through sweat, and as a result, the concentration of glucose in a person's sweat can increase as well. So this can cause more intense itching. And be careful not to scratch your skin too much and cause wounds, which can make healing worse. So that's another interesting point as well. Dehydration, which also happens because of this excess urination, which is often induced by the body. It can also cause a higher concentration of sweat and lead to more itching. So, all of this ends up being interconnected. The 10th and final sign is related to mood changes. A person who lives with higher blood sugar, think about it, is someone who is constantly feeling hungry, often has headaches from the excess glucose, feels tired, weak, very thirsty, and is urinating all the time. Sometimes they can't even see properly, have itching all over their body. It's someone who's uncomfortable all the time. And there's also the issue of neurotransmitters. So it's a person who often becomes more irritable, has more mood swings throughout the day. And there is indeed a physiological explanation for this. So if you live with someone who has diabetes or high blood sugar, try to be a little more patient. Because this person may have mood changes that you sometimes can't even understand what they're going through, okay? Let's try to have a little more empathy for what people are experiencing. Tell me, were you able to recognize any of the signs you had when you found out you had diabetes? When your blood sugar is high, do you notice, this is what I feel? For me, I notice it right away. For me, it's this. For me, it's that. I would love to see your comment. Remember to like the video. That's super important to me. And share this video with those who need it. I know a lot of people do. Let's spread this chain of kindness. That's what I want here with the channel. See you next time. Bye.